Don't worry, our sacred art is coming back. It's being professionally framed right now. This is on. I wanted to share it because it really relates to what we're talking about today. Now, you probably can't see it, but if you're here in the sanctuary, I invite you after service to come look at it. It's about beginnings and endings, and that there's a season for everything. I want to share a story with you that I think, now in hindsight, beautifully illustrates what we're talking here today. And I'll preface it by saying, at the time, it was not a beautiful experience. I was at the peak of my previous career. I was doing great. I was in charge of a lot of things, including a very large budget. I was feeling powerful. I was feeling successful. I was feeling like I was something. I had changed a lot of procedures, streamlined a lot of things, got a new certification for my business. It was a great career. And in one of my meditations, what came to me was, I am complete. I have done all I have come here to do. And I said, no. I resisted that. I resisted that knowing. Because I didn't know who I would be without that. Who was I if I was not this person who revamped all the procedures and made everything better? Who was I if I wasn't the woman who revamped this budget and got more out of every dollar we spent? Who was I if an entire population of this institution didn't come to me for answers? Who was I without all of that? And I had come to that position through a part-time administrative position. So think about that. I mean, I'm basically doing filing and answering phones and supporting the person who was in the position I would later step into. But I kept taking on more and more, and I had created this new version of this leadership position. And I couldn't imagine doing that again. I've shared with you before that I forget if it's 4 or 6 or 8, I can't remember, credits short of my degree. Because I don't have that degree. And I was unwilling, even though I knew I was complete, I was unwilling to allow this ending to happen. So guess what happened? I got fired. I got fired less than 6 weeks later. And for a crazy reason. That doesn't matter for the sake of the story. But I was devastated. And it wasn't until years later I realized this is just another version of the universe supports me in everything I do, and I knew it was time to leave this position, and I didn't. And the universe took care of me. The universe had my back. The universe took care of me. And it was leaving that position that led me into ministry. So as that career wrapped up and that job, that position wrapped up and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had enough money saved up. I was going to take a whole year off because not only was that a great job, but I was working a lot. Like 60 hours a week was my regular work schedule. Those of you who know me now are shocked and you think I'm not telling the truth, but I'm telling the truth. And I was like all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And my body was suffering because of it. My emotional and mental health was suffering because of it. So I decided I'm going to take a whole year off and take care of myself with bubble baths, relaxation, and good food that takes 45 minutes to prepare. I lasted about 25 days, and I said, oh my God, I gotta get a job. But I still wasn't ready to go back to that super fast-paced, work myself crazy kind of life. So I said, let me find a part-time job that takes zero brain work, no effort. And I ended up getting a job at a Unity church, part-time administrative job at a Unity church. I could run reports with my eyes closed. I could create flyers. This is the day when you made flyers and put them on the wall. I could create flyers, in my sleep, and it was fun. It was artistic. It wasn't hard at all, and I got to deal with people, which I like, and it was great. And then my minister tricked me into becoming a minister, but that's a different story for a different day. It wasn't until many, many years later that I realized that I was resisting an ending. Because my intuition told me it was time to end that previous job. But I didn't know what I would be without it. I didn't know what would come next. I couldn't imagine what I would do with my career. I was so varied and complicated in the position I was in. I did so many different things in the institution that I couldn't imagine. What kind of job would I apply for? I could not perceive or imagine a possibility. And when we approach our endings and beginnings from a state of fear, that's exactly what happens. We cannot see possibilities. If I were to relive that time, I would have put it in my notice. I would have ended that job. I had savings. I could have taken a year. I could have taken a whole year to find a new job at the time. I would have put it in my notice. I would have left that job, and I would have explored new things that I could do with the skills that I had. But I was so afraid that I couldn't see that as a possibility. And I used to embrace this idea of embracing endings is asking, what is no longer serving me? We've all heard that, probably, a time or two. But what I say now is what has come to completion in my life. What is no longer speaking the highest level of truth that I can hold? What is ready for me to let it go? And when we ask ourselves those questions, the answer could be a job. It could be a relationship. But it could also be a belief, a way of perceiving our place in the world, a way of perceiving ourselves. It could be a perspective. I was talking with a good friend of mine about white privilege. And he was saying, well, he doesn't have white privilege because he grew up poor and all of those things. And I talked to him about privilege could mean you get more. Your parents were affluent, they paid for your college, you have generational wealth. But it can also mean you didn't have obstacles that others had, simply because of the color of your skin, or simply because of who and how you love. It wasn't that long ago that a gay couple couldn't reap the benefits that come with marriage. So you might not feel privileged because you didn't get a bunch of extra stuff, but maybe you're privileged because you didn't have obstacles that other people have. That's a new perspective. What do we have to let go to actually learn from this new perspective? So beginnings and endings can be about external circumstances like a job. But it can also be the perceptions and beliefs and ideas that we hold in our mind and in our hearts. There's a word that keeps coming up in my life, and I get excited when that happens because I feel that the universe supports me in everything I do, and if I hear it or see it 3 times, that's for me. I'm supposed to pay attention to it, right? My brother says that's just coincidence, but I don't believe so. It's the universe supporting me in everything I do. What is my next thing to explore? And that word is emergence. We had a concert here a couple Fridays ago with Eli Lev, and he talked about emergence. And that was the second time that I had heard that word. And then I heard it not once, but twice more very shortly after that. So you're going to hear it a lot because it's exciting for me. And I think of emergence as a way of exploring these endings and beginnings. Charles Fillmore taught us that life is always seeking to express through us as us. Divine life is always seeking to live through us. And I think about that, and I think about divine life wanting to emerge as Sarah. Think about that for yourself, but put your name in. Life, divine life wants to emerge through Marilee, as Nancy. Can you say that in your mind and put your name in there? Divine life wants to emerge as me. So we might think endings are scary, beginnings are scary, but to me, that is scary. Because I have this innate sense that with great power comes great responsibility. Are you a superhero fan? I am. That's Spider-Man, right? And as we embrace this idea that divine life wants to live through us, as us, we have to acknowledge and take responsibility for all of those ideas and ways of living that hold us back from that happening. Can you think of anything in your life that is a shroud over the divinity that is you? Can you think of anything that you do in your life, that you believe in your life? Mine is comparison. I compare myself to my colleagues. Oh, well, that person has 150 people on Sunday, AKA equals they're better than me. That's ridiculous, is it not? Right? Yet, that has some life in me. Or I have colleagues that do really well teaching classes online. They make a lot of money, they get a lot of students, and they're kind of all over the country because it's online, you don't have to travel. And anyone who's taken classes with me, I am an in-person kind of person. Online is not my jam. Therefore, AKA equals they're better than me. Again, ridiculous. Different, not necessarily better. Probably better at some things, but I'm probably better at some things. But as far as innate value and worth, no one is better or worse than I am. I know that intellectually, yet I continue to compare myself to my colleagues. So now, whenever that comparison happens in my mind or my heart, whenever that comparison happens, I ask myself, where is that comparison living in me? Can I feel it in my body? Can I identify this belief as an energy in me? And then I ask myself, am I willing to let that go? And I've done that enough times now that, okay, I still compare myself, so don't think I'm beyond that all the way yet. But I've done it enough times that I'm becoming well practiced in it. So when that whoosh of comparison comes, I immediately go to, oh, I'm doing that again. I don't need to do that. Okay, I'm done. Like, it's very quick. It's very, because enough times it comes up and I ask myself, where does that live in my body? What is going on? Am I willing to let that go? And I know where it lives. It kind of lives in my chest. And I kind of want to hold my breath, like breathe shallow and kind of hold my breath a little bit. And it's always the same. So when it happens, I know where that is. Relax. Relax. Drop my shoulders. Relax my chest muscles. Inhale deeply, exhale deeply. I don't need to hold that old belief anymore. Every time we become aware of something that wants to emerge in us, we need to create space for it. Because if it does not exist yet, and we're also aware of it, it means there's no space for it. So I look for what is complete. What has been completed? And you know what's been completed is this idea that my value and worth is measured by comparing myself to my colleagues. That's an old belief that I was trained to hold. And I've decided I don't want to hold that anymore. That is complete. Now, it did serve a purpose, because when I compared myself to other people, I strived to better myself. When I compared myself to other people, I saw what was possible. And then at some point it became problematic. And I realized that's complete. I don't need that to strive. I don't need that to evolve. I don't need that to grow. So that idea is complete. I can say thank you, comparison, for helping me have the urge to better myself. Thank you, comparison, for pushing me to grow and evolve. And thank you, comparison, for doing your job and leaving when it's your time to go. And now, what is ready to emerge in that place? Imagine, if it resonates with you, imagine yourself. If it doesn't resonate with you, imagine a person. You can use me as a person or a different person. Imagine someone has been comparing themselves and that's ready to go away. What might want to emerge in the place of that comparison? Not rhetorical, real question. Confidence. Confidence. Trust. Courage.
Self-knowledge.
All of those things are what I am embracing now. I'm not good at teaching classes online because I get bored and I can't feel your energy. So it's not fun for me, so I don't want to do it. But you know what I do like doing, and you know what I'm really good at? In-person classes. Can I get an amen from any student? Amen. Yeah. Now, does that mean I'm egotistical? No. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. Somebody said courage. It takes courage to say in front of a group of people, I am awesome at X. I am skilled in this area. It also takes courage to say, you know what I'm really bad at, and I am not skilled in this other thing. So it's about having courage, it's about having confidence, and it's about trusting that the divinity in me is alive and active all the time. And that is the measure of my value and worth. I exist, therefore I am valuable. I exist, therefore I am worthy. Anybody in the room feel unworthy at times? Yeah? So there is something in your consciousness, a belief, an idea, an identity that feeds unworthiness. For me, for many years, it was comparison. There's a list of other things too, but that's the one we're talking about today. So I invite you to think about your own life and your own beginnings and endings as a spiritual practice. What has been completed that I know that it's done its job? I don't need that anymore. It's complete. I can let that go. And if I am courageous enough and willing enough to let that go, what might... Now we think of beginnings and endings as, single events. An ending might be a divorce. But really, nobody just wakes up and says, you know what, let's get divorced today. Okay. There's a process, right? There's a transition. We went from getting married and everything is wonderful and we both really want to be here to at some point one or both of the parties are like, you know what, not so much. Beginnings and endings are markings, time stamps, event stamps in the flow of life. And we look at nature. Is it a beginning or an ending when the leaves fall from the trees? Is it a beginning or an ending when the first flower blooms in spring? And we could make an argument either way, right? Or we could say it's both. But our lives are like that too. When I lost that job, the only thing I could see was an ending. But it was maybe the beginning of my next career, which I love better, by the way. And so my invitation to you is to, in your own life, look at what has completed. What no longer speaks to the highest truth that is available to me now. So when I was in comparison mode, the highest that I am valuable and worthy simply because I exist, that truth was not available to me. Because the lens through which I saw the world was one of hierarchy of value. I could not perceive or conceive of the idea that nobody was better or worse than anyone else, that nobody had more or less value than anybody else. Value was productivity, assets, so many things that I didn't have. So that point of truth was not available to me. So when we look at what is the highest point of truth that is available to me now, what has been completed that I can let go of so I can embrace this truth that is available to me. And if you are aware of the truth, it is available to you. If you can imagine or conceive that truth, it is available to you. So what is completed that no longer holds the highest truth that is available to me? And then the next question is, am I willing to let that go? And sometimes the answer is no. Rock on, live your best life. And if the answer is yes, then we work on no. And then we can ask ourselves, what divine truth is ready to emerge as me? That's big. What divine truth is ready to emerge as me? Because divine life does not want, have you ever heard this phrase? Oh, thanks, that, yeah, I'm not that great. Aside and let spirit do the work. Anybody hear that? Has anybody said it? Yeah, couple hands. Divine life wants to emerge as you. Not in spite of you, not around you, not over or under you, but as you. Not even through you. As if you're a sieve that something external can come and work its way through the holes of you. Divine life wants to emerge as you. Now that's a sacred divine beginning, I think. So let's think about our own lives. And we'll kind of bring these ideas into meditation. And as we take a let's do that once more. One last time. Acknowledge and embrace that indwelling sacred core of your being. The sacred core where you have access to divine wisdom. Imagine, sense, and feel that this core of your being, this place where the seat of divine wisdom is in you, imagine, sense, and feel that you are filled with nothing but love and light. There is no negative judgment, just pure love. Pure acceptance, simple contentment. You might even feel joy welling up, joy for just being with this feeling. Joy for acknowledging this place within yourself. And from this sacred place of being, we ask the question, what in me, whether it's an idea, a relationship, a role, a position, what in me has reached completion and no longer holds the highest truth available to me? What in me has reached completion and no longer holds the highest truth I can perceive? What in me is ready to emerge as me? What aspect of divine life is ready to emerge as me? In this moment, let's muster up our courage, our faith, and our trust, and step into the invitation that is present. The invitation to release what is ready to end and embrace what is ready to begin. You might come up with an affirmation statement. I am willing to. I release. I embrace. In this moment, we acknowledge that the universe supports us in everything we do, including setting our intentions. Imagine, sense, and feel that your intention has been felt and heard. Vibration is moving in the universe right now. The new vibration that you hold when you have released a limiting idea or belief, the new vibration that you hold when you have embraced a higher truth, the new vibration that you hold is matched by the universe. And it is already in motion. And so, amen. So again, I invite those of you who are in the sanctuary with us today, I invite you to come up and look at our art today and see if your ending or your beginning is represented in our art piece. And I promise the original art is on its way back very soon. So thank you for your patience with that. Namaste. And I think we have a song. Is that right, Dennis? Absolutely. All right, let's sing a song. Beautiful.